So welcome to 10.3. So we're going to write a real world function from a table. We did this with y equals mx plus b. Now we're going to do it in a real world table, and you'll see that. All right, so let's remember. All right, it says find the slope, y-intercept, and linear function. All right, so to find the slope, you take any 2 points. I'm going to take those two just for, so I'm going to do 8 minus 5. Remember, for slope, the y's go up top, the x is on the bottom, right? So we have to flip this upside down. And since I started with 8, I have to start with 2. So I get 3 over 1. The slope here is 3. Is the y-intercept in the table? Yes, right? So I'm done with that, right? That's our y-intercept. And so the equation is y equals 3x plus 2. Okay, that was the easy ones. Those are the easy ones where the slope is in the table. I mean, the y-intercept is in the table. Now, neither of those is the y-intercept. So you have to find the slope. So I'm going to do 2 minus negative 4. I'm subtracting my y-coordinates over 5 minus 3, subtracting my x-coordinates. 2 minus negative 4 is the same as 2 plus 4 is 6. 5 minus 3 is 2, so the slope here is 3. What is the y-intercept? That's a coincidence that they both have the same slope, I think. All right, so to find the y-intercept, right, we're going to put this into y equals 3x plus b. And now we can pick either point. Let's pick the one without a negative in it. So 2 equals 3 times 5, right? X5 is the x-coordinate, 2 is the y-coordinate. So that's 15. So I'm going to subtract 15 from both sides. 2 minus 15 is negative 13 equals b. So the y-intercept is 0, negative 13. The equation of the only line that goes through both of those points is y equals 3x minus 13. Right, so you're literally going to do exactly the same thing here, but these letters aren't going to be x and y. They're going to be p for pay, or c for cost, and things, and h for hours. But all the math is exactly the same as this, which we did in the last unit. Okay, so let's look at this one. So you'd find the slope by subtracting, right? What h is where y would be, so that would be the thing that goes up top. D is where x would be, so that would be the thing to go on the bottom, right? And then you get 10 over 2. The slope here is 5, right? The y-intercept's in the table, 0, 3. So instead of using y and x, you just use h and d. H equals 5. The slope is 5, right? 5d, y-intercept 3. And if you wanted to write it in function notation, you do h of d equals 5d plus 3. Same thing. Okay, I just taught it to you, but we're going to go over all that more slowly. Okay, so it says find the speed of, I'm reading right here, find the speed of the car and write a linear function from the table. Now, the speed of the car is the rate, and the rate in the problem will always be the slope. So I'm asking you to find the slope, even though I'm not saying those words. I'm literally in every problem, the first thing you do is find the slope. All right, and so I'm going to do it there. So 160 minus 80 over 4 minus 2, right? This hours is where x would be, so it has to go on the bottom. The m for miles is where y should be. That has to go on the top. So we get 160 minus 80 is 80. 4 minus 2 is 2. So this car is going 40 miles per hour. That's the slope. The slope is 40. What's the y-intercept? Well, it's 0, 0. All right, so now we're going to write an equation. So we're going to use m of h. Since I put m of h there, I'm going to use function notation. M of h equals 40h, right? It's 40h plus 0, but we're just going to drop that. Okay, and you did that in 7th grade, except without the function notation, right? So how this car is going 40 miles every hour. In 1 hour, I skipped it, but it went 40. 280, 3 120, 4 160, 5, right? We're going 40, 200, and so on. It's going 40 miles every hour. M of h equals 40h. But this is the rate and the slope are always the same number. So you have the speed of the car, you have the slope. If you have the slope, you know how fast the car was going. All right, so we're going to use C for cost and R for rides. First thing we got to do is find the slope. I'll do it right there. So 28 minus 18 over 10 minus 5. Yes, I could use anywhere. So we get 10 over 5, which is 2. So the slope here is 2. What does that mean? That means it's $2 for each ride. $2 per ride. That's what that means. That's the rate. That's the slope. They're always the same number. Okay. What's the y-intercept? The y-intercept here is 0, 8. Right? It's $8 to get in. Okay. And $2 per ride. So we're going to use function notation. C of r equals 2r plus 8. The cost, C, as a function of the number of rides you go on, is 2 times the number of rides plus 8. Right? You go on one ride, you're going to pay 10 ducks. If you go on 2 rides, you're going to pay $12 and so on. You're going to pay $2 more per ride. Right? That's what your homework looks like. So that it says find the cost per ride. That's saying find the slope. That's what that means, because the cost per ride is the rate. Okay, so now find the rate of pay. In other words, find the slope, right? That's the slope for a repairman, and write a linear function which includes a one-time upfront cost. That's our y-intercept, right? The upfront cost. Now, he was paid $50 and worked 0 hours. So let's understand what that's trying to tell you. Right? If we graph this, H would be for hours, right, would be down here, and P for pay would be up here. All right, so H is our X, and P is our Y. So this is the point 0, 50. All right, so we know, you're not sketching this, so 0, 50. We also know some other information. We know at 4 hours, he got paid $130. We don't know the rate of pay yet, though. Right? We know that these 2 points on the graph. We know there's a point on the graph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 130. We know there's a point there. So we could draw the function, and if we had graph paper, we could figure things out. But what we don't know is the slope here. So let's find the slope. So how do you find the slope? You subtract for the numerator what would be the y. So 130 minus 50. You have to go in the same order. And for the run, you subtract what would be the x's. So 130 minus 50 is 80. 4 minus 0 is 4. 80 divided by 4. 20 is our slope. What does that mean? Yeah, he's getting paid $20 per hour. Okay, so he's getting paid $20 per hour. So what's the equation, right? Write a linear function. So we're going to use P of H. The slope is 20h plus 50 bucks to show up. It's all right. He's getting paid $20 per hour, which in reality is low. All right, but 50 bucks to show up is a little low, but more reasonable to the real world. Okay, but that's what he's getting paid. He's getting paid 50 bucks just to show up and another $20 for every hour he works. So our slope was 20. All right, so then now we're going to put it all together. So far we've been giving you the y-intercept. Right now the y-intercept is not here. Now you could use patterns and maybe figure out what this number at 0 has to be, but we're going to use our method. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, always find the slope. And the slope, I'll just use that one. So 160 minus 130 over 2 minus 1, 30 over 1. So this is the speed of a car, right? So he's going 30 miles per hour. That's the rate. The slope is always the same number, 30. Now to find the y-intercept, since it's not there, you can just put that into y equals 30x plus b, right? You can take any of these points. Why don't we take the first one? It's the easiest one. 130 equals 30 times 1 plus b. Subtract 30 from both sides. Oh, we get 100 equals b. The y-intercept is 0, 100. So the equation, remember we're using m of h equals 30h plus 100. Yeah, and you can see that makes sense if you were using patterns, right? We're going down, this is going up by 30, so what would be 30 lower than 130? Yeah. The bad news is using patterns on standardized tests, they usually write them so you can't do that. But if you can, you're allowed to use patterns, but this is the go-to method that always works. put the slope and one of these points. Remember, every single one of these, I could have picked this one, right? You put that into the equation, you subtract from both sides, and you will get the same answer for B, 100. Okay, find the rate of pay. So the rate of pay is the slope. So let's see, there's 85 minus 70 over 3 minus 2, 15 over 1. So the slope is 15, right? The rate of pay is $15 per hour. That means he's getting paid $15 every single hour. All right, we're going to put that 15 into y equals mx plus b. All right, and then we're going to use any point. Let's use 70 and 2. So 70 equals 15 times 2 plus b. 15 times 2 is 30, so I'm going to subtract 30 from both sides. 40 equals b. All right, so it says which includes an amount for tips, right? That's the y-intercept, 0, 40. Okay, now don't use y. I used y and x here for this little section. All right, but we're going to do p of h, pay, is a function of h, equals 15h plus 40. There's our rate of pay. Right, there's our tips in this case, our y-intercept. Okay, all right, so this is the point. We know that this Sam here went on 10 rides and paid 19. And Carlos went on 14 rides and paid $25. What we don't know is what the entrance fee is, all right, which is the y-intercept. We don't know the cost per ticket either. So we have to start by getting the cost per ticket, which is the slope. So we're going to subtract, right? These are our y's, because if you graph this, right, the p's would go here. Whoops. Oh, I said paid. Oh, instead of cost, I used cost in other ones. All right, and R would go down here though. 25 minus 19 are our y's. 14 minus 10 are our x's. 25 minus 19 is 6. 14 minus 10 is 4. All right, so this is 3 halves, right? What does that mean? It's 1.5. It's $1.50 per ride, all right? But we can just leave the slope 3 halves. You don't have to change it. Okay, the y-intercept. So we're going to put it in y equals 3 halves x plus b. Now I told you when we did this before, you don't have to be scared of this fraction. It's going to go away. So let's pick one of these. Let's pick 19 and 10. So 19 equals 3 halves times 10 plus b. Right, canceling. That becomes 1. That's going to happen every time. Okay, so we have 5, right, because now it's reduced to 3 over 1 times 5 over 1, which is 15. You subtract 15 from both sides. 4 equals b. The y-intercept is 0, 4. All right, so what does that mean? It's $4 to get in. It was $4 to get in here. And the slope we already know is 3 halves. So we're going to do P of R, pay as a function of R, equals 3 halves R, don't forget that R, plus 4. Right? What happens here? Every 2, you go up 3. Right? Every 2, you go up 3 more, a slope of 3 halves, which is $1.50. It's $1.50 per ride. Could you write 1.5 R? Yes. Could you write 1.5 R? No. Don't ever put mixed numbers into your equations. You can put decimals and fractions, but not a mix of whole numbers and fractions. Okay, the rate the candle is burning. So we're going to find the rate the candle's burning. Now, burning down, right? Burning down. So, right, we've been given 2 points here. The first point is at 2 hours, it was at 13. At 4 hours, it's shorter, right? It's at 7. So the y is 13 minus 7 over the x is 2 minus 4, right? So you get 6 over negative 2. The slope here is negative 3. It's going down 3 inches every hour, right? Inches per hour. All right, so we don't have our y-intercept, so we're going to put that in y equals mx plus b. And we'll pick either one. I'll pick 13 and 2. So 13 equals negative 3 times 2 plus b. That's negative 6, right? So I add 6 to both sides. So the candle, when it started, was at 19 inches. So now we're going to use h, height, as a function of time, right? We're using t for hours because we don't want h of h. So h of t equals negative 3t plus 19. Function notation. Okay, let's practice. Okay, so we have h of y here. By the way, if you want to just do that to remind yourself, hey, I got to use function notation, all right? Right? Now, when it doesn't say you have to use function notation, you don't have to, but why don't you get in the habit so you're ready for high school? All right, so first thing I see the y-intercept, right? So it's going to be plus 13. All right, there's the y-intercept. But now I got to get the slope. So the slope, subtract my y's, 24 minus 13 over 1 minus 0. That's 11 over 1. So it's, what is the rate of growth? I didn't put feet or years, but let's say it's feet per year. So let's say it's feet per year. So it's 11. And so the function is h of y equals 11y plus 13. Right? It's growing 11 feet per year. Right? Every single year, this is going up by 11. Right? It's growing 11 feet per year. That's its rate of growth, which is always the same number as the slope when you graph it. All right, so here we go. Find our slope. I'm going to just do it there. 26 minus 20 over 6 minus 4, which I'm getting sloppy, which is 6 over 2, which is 3. So the rate of growth is 3 inches per day. Wow, that plant grows very fast. 3 inches per day. Okay, so we're going to put, since I don't have a 0 days there, I'm going to put the 3 into y equals mx plus b. I'm going to pick the first one. 20 equals 3 times 4 plus b. That's 12, so I subtract 12 from both sides. 8 equals b. 0, 8 is the y-intercept. So now it says h of d. And by the way, use the hint I give you there. H of d equals 3d plus 8. Right? And that should make every combination, right? Like 10 times 3 plus 8 does equal 38. 3 times the number of days plus the, right? What does that mean? When it was planted, it was 8 inches tall. All right, or 8, I didn't say feet or inches, but 8 feet per day would be a lot. It could be centimeters, 8 centimeters per day. Well, it's growing 3 per day. It was 8 when it was planted. Let me make sure I don't mess you up there. Okay, final question. All right, so this is the point. At 2 hours, it was 50 feet. At 6 hours, it was lower. It's going down. All right, so we're going to find our slope. So we're going to do 50 minus 26 over 2 minus 6. 50 minus 26 is 24. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. So it's going down 6 per hour. The rate of the water is descending. That means going down. It's going down 6. Okay? And so then we don't have a y-intercept here, so we're going to do y equals negative 6x plus b. And so we're going to do, I'll do this one. 50 equals 2x plus b. Oh my goodness, I just messed that up. Negative 6 times 2 plus b. That's negative 12, so I'm adding 12 to both sides. 62 equals b. So the water at time 0 was at 62 feet. And the equation, oh, I didn't say what letters to use. All right, so let's come up with some letters. Let's do height as a function of time. Okay, so if I don't tell you what letters to use, then you may use your own. If you want to do h of h, I have to accept that too. All right, and so it would be, but the key is it's negative 6t plus 62, or in this case, negative 6h plus 62. All right. Good luck with the homework.